So what we're generally going to talk about today is trying to articulate the differences between our Pexip service, our go-to-market as a cloud, and the self-hosted solution of Infinity, which most of you know quite a bit about. So I'll try and keep it on point and not jabber on too much. But essentially we have the two go-to-market offerings. On the left there we have the dedicated enterprise application, a la Pexip Infinity. It's really a distributed software platform that can reside on physical tin, VMware or Hyper-V, within a customer's data center, or in one of the three main clouds, being Google Cloud Compute, Microsoft Azure, or AWS, or a hybrid of the four. Now, being a self-hosted application, we have quite a bit of leeway in terms of what we can do with it and how we can change the look and the feel of it and create, I guess, bespoke front ends for different customers. The APIs are completely available from the management layer right down to what you see in terms of WebRTC and the end user. So it can be manipulated and customized quite well. The other offering is our cloud service. So this is really powered by the Pexip Infinity platform and implemented in a global distributed manner. So we have Infinity powering the different, I guess, options, whether it's VMRs or point-to-point calling registrations or cloud video interop. And we have a whole bunch of microservices that wrap around the Infinity implementations around the world that do things like high availability, geo-balancing, recovery in case things go down, replacement of participants should a POP deactivate or network issues occur. So it's pretty much all built for the customer already. All they do is sign up and start using the services. So building it yourself is a lot more to it. So the customer profile is really typically a larger type customer who needs to have more bespoke integrations, whether it's customization or integration into on-premise call control. Allows them to tweak the config so much more than the out-of-the-box as a service platform, which is really a subscription-based. You sign up and you get what you sign up for, and the rest of the I guess feature set is built into the platform. So we'll talk a little bit about Pexip as a service and where it fits in and how we can use some of the features to very quickly bring Pexip as a service to the customer in terms of the end user. And the feature set that we have should really dictate what the uptake will be. So just a little bit more about the global topology of the service. We have 16 POPs all around the world that, as you can see on the image there, spread across 14 different geographies or locations. The US, Europe, South Africa, APAC as a whole, Southeast Asia and Australia. In those different locations, we have different I guess services that we run as an entry point. In every POP, the red part is the ingress and egress of our global network for customers. The point at which people enter our network are the red dots. Also in the red dots are where our calling and virtual meeting room or meeting services run, typically on physical tin in our Equinix data centers all around the place. And we have the interconnects in those places into Google primarily for cloud video interop for Hangouts Meet, and into Microsoft Azure network for interoperability into Microsoft Teams. So in every one of those places, we have a hop on to those networks. Now the idea for that is to bring the media and signaling as close to the cameras and the screens and the end users as possible in terms of geography. So what we want to do is minimize the hopping all around the world on the internet of media streams. That has an impact on latency, so delay, and potential drops on the public internet around the world. So bringing people in to our network, which is QoS, MPLS enabled across the whole platform, across all POPs, means that we get to the media faster and the quality is as good as we can get it. So usually issues that we see is typically last mile from the customer's network into one of our POPs, and we tend to start diagnosis at that particular point. So the big seller of the high quality global network is the interconnection. So from a go-to-market perspective, a customer that is truly global, they have their own points of presence all around the world, they can make use of the entry points into this MPLS network, and people connecting from all around the world to the same conference, for example, will traverse our internal global network to interconnect one another. So they're making use of the high quality on a global basis. So this is all built for the customer already and is always active. So in terms of what we sell, on the service side, we have the call and meeting service, which is the end user license. You subscribe, you have an identity in the platform, which straight away allows you to do point-to-point calling and gives you a virtual meeting room as well. We also have team virtual meeting rooms that can be shared amongst the team and scheduled. Then we have the video subscription platform where customers will typically moving to a cloud-first sort of philosophy, where they might want to break away from their existing on-premise call control, Cisco, Polycom, MCUs and call control, and move that workload into a cloud service, being us. So we offer that as a service as well. Most of my conversations these days really centered around CVI, Cloud Video Interop, primarily on the Teams side, where I see a few reactions there, and you've probably seen the same. During COVID, there's a big uptake of Microsoft Teams. Organisations, employees have been sent home, and one of the tools that they already have in their toolbox is Microsoft Teams. So over the last few months, they've been using that as a meeting platform. Now, when restrictions are sort of being loosened a little, the IT guys in these organisations are saying, well, we have a big fleet of Cisco and Polycom endpoints in our offices. How are we going to connect this this fleet into these new meeting types? And this is where the discussions are occurring about how we can easily consume the interop as a service to provide that functionality. So quite a hot topic at the moment. So to sort of circle a little bit on our meeting service, basically it's hosted VMRs and end user licensing. So you're able to subscribe as an end user. You get a username and password, and you can use one of our apps or the web browser to log in, and then you have access to your permanent VMR. You can schedule that VMR. You can schedule a one-time VMR with dynamic, unique aliases for one-time use, and provide a whole bunch of different ways for other people to connect into the VMR. So we have the traditional video conferencing endpoints, Cisco, Polycom, Lifesize, Huawei, you name it. SIP and H323 can dial into these conferences. We provide free phone inbound calling for these VMRs, with numbers sort of published all around the world for local number access. The platform will populate a phone book that contains, on a per company basis, all the users that are registered, as well as all the virtual meeting rooms, personal or team VMRs in this phone book, which are accessible via registered endpoints using the touch panel. and also via the apps and the web interface. So we support the point-to-point calls as well. Like I can call Emily can call me using the apps, or if Emily has an endpoint registered under her name, then her app and her endpoint will ring at the same time. So quite useful. That sort of moves us a little more into the endpoints and what they do. So on our service, as we mentioned before, you can opt to subscribe for video endpoint management and call control. Now what that really is taking your endpoint off where you're currently registered, Call Manager or VCS or DMA, and having it re-provisioned to point to our service, and that will point to the closest POP of those 16 POPs that you see. And once it's provisioned, then you're essentially on our network. So international calling, we will pop out at the appropriate location using the backplane as an interim. So firewall traversal is something that's inherent. It has to be there because public endpoints really don't exist. They're on a private network. We need to traverse the company's firewall in order for it to register with our service. So that's all. It's all part of it. The phone book is pushed out to the endpoint. Typically, it's the company phone book. So again, other endpoints that are registered are listed, as well as end users and virtual meeting rooms. The provisioning process is actually quite cool. When I first saw that, I thought this is pretty simple for I guess IT admins within an organisation, where once the endpoint is provisioned on our service, we can have it configure, or you guys can have the service email yourselves or the company's, your customer's IT admin to say, click on this link to activate the Sydney boardroom. That will open up what you see on the left there, the endpoint activation app, which gives the user the option to run a quick diagnostics, a little test that will test from the subnet that they're running it from whether the device can talk to our service. Are the firewall ports open? If they're not, it will show us which ones are a problem, which, for us techies is quite handy to be able to say, all right, this is blocked, Mr. Firewall Guy, please unblock. It does a series of test calls in and of itself, so it'll test the media ports as well. Then once you're happy, it'll ask you to log in to the endpoint, and it'll reconfigure the endpoint to then talk to our service. And bang, it's registered and ready for use. So I found that process to be quite useful. You don't have to log into the actual endpoint itself. It's all done automatically. This will work for Polycom endpoints as well as Cisco. Now back to CVI, Cloud Video Interrupt. For both platforms, the general idea is we bring non-Google or non-Teams devices through our service into Microsoft Teams. We offer this as self-hosted as well, but that involves a lot of engineering work to implement this stuff. So on the service, it's all done for you. We have the option of one-touch join for service customers as well. It does require at least 2 VMs to be installed within the customer's network typically. That handles the one-touch join application or the process. So once one-touch join is enabled, the workflow is really quite smooth for the end user. The workflow would be I book a Teams meeting and I invite the Sydney boardroom. Then I walk in. On the touch panel of the Sydney boardroom will be Logan's meeting, Logan's Teams meeting. Click join, and the call will route through the service into the Teams meeting, and you're done. Same for Google, and also we're able to match VMRs or any other type of meeting we can see the invite for. So very quite powerful for end users. When the endpoints are registered using our endpoint subscription, we make the correlation for that endpoint to the Teams or the Hangouts meeting, depending on which way the customer goes. And why we do that? That is so that we can say, like with Teams, for example, there's a lobby that if an external participant joins your Teams meeting, you typically have to let them into the meeting. With the trusted scenario, I can hit the join button on the registered device, and we'll make the correlation that this device is part of this Teams tenant, so automatically allow that endpoint into the Teams meeting bypassing the lobby. So quite a nice flow in conjunction with the one-touch join as well. If a customer does choose to stay on their own core control, then we have the ability to trust the SBC or the exit point of their network on our service. So we can still do that for local registrations. For endpoint registrations and calling and for interop, we also encourage customer to use their own subdomain, the vanity domain. So teams.customer.com, which will appear in the invites for Teams meetings, and makes it more personal for the end customer as well. It's more of their own implementation.